You're born ready.
I was born ready.
One might say you're Jason born to be ready.
Jason, born to be ready craze.
That's great. By the way.
Why is that great?
Jason born to be ready? I can't believe I can't believe I just came up with that.
You didn't just come up with that.
No, Jason Bourne, like Jason Bourne.
To be ready.
Yeah, Jason Bourne to be ready. Have you ever heard that in your entire life?
Yes.
What? I don't believe it. Welcome in, everybody. Sarcastic Grandpa Finn, Big Bob, Lumberjack Tim, Thumb Palette. We were just commiserating here where I would like the record to show that I'm a minute and 18 seconds early.
He didn't want to be.
I didn't want to be. I didn't want to do it.
He said, Jason, we have to be late. And I said, no,
I know.
Chris, we can be early for the fans.
Lumberjack just said, Chris, you must have been abducted by aliens. He's not late today. Yes, I'm not. I am never late. Nor am I early.
Here we go, chat. Here we go. I'm just going to start painting.
You're just going to start painting, huh?
I don't have time for your nonsense.
Oh, I'm going to zoom in real quick. Welcome in, everybody.
I don't have time for your nonsense, Christopher.
Dyslexic Mini Painter. I am Mortal Kombat. Big Bob. Papa Chicken. Oh! Jason, you're
what
using...
What happens when you pop a chicken?
I don't know. I don't like how that tastes in my mouth. You know? It's not... Objectively, it's fine.
Speaking about mouths and chickens.
Welcome in, everybody. We are so glad you're here today. Tech Elf, Big Bob, Dyslexic. We're painting up some ultramarines today.
I had an unexpected mouthgasm at lunch.
I'm so sorry. Say that again.
I had an unexpected mouthgasm.
That's a tongue twister. What happened?
At lunch.
What does that mean? What happened?
Well, Philip went and got Chick-fil-A, which I don't normally partake of.
I was just about to say, you're not a normal Chick-fil-A goer.
I'm not a normal Chick-fil-A goer.
But
I got the chicken strips, right?
Oh.
They're chicken fingers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I got a 4-piece chicken finger.
Okay.
And their honey mustard sauce.
Okay.
Holy bananas.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh.
I'm a convert to where I think that the only place I will get chicken from is Chick-fil-A.
Really?
It's really good.
That's good to know. It's good stuff. It hits a spot.
Their waffle fries are pretty good too, but
yes, their waffle fries are very good. Papa Chicken says, you can't say what happens when you pop a chicken and follow that up with, I had an unexpected mouthgasm today.
Well, I just did.
He did.
I'm the boss of me.
Throw me out.
I'm the boss of me. You are not the boss of me. I do what I want.
T. Schmidt says that statement is uncomfortable. It could be.
Depending
on how you...
Yes.
Mouthgasm or Papa Chicken? I don't know.
Which one comes first?
Yes. Both. Clark Armstrong, maybe a weird question. I haven't even looked at it yet, but I love it when people start with this. It's my favorite thing. Maybe a weird question, but why is the Pro Acryl matte varnish so much thinner than like the AK's Ultra Matte? I have a hard time getting AKs to shake properly.
It's the difference between fantastic paint, ours, and not fantastic paint, everyone else's.
That's it.
We formulate ours based on our own kind of needs and you know, technical basis. We don't really look at others, so I don't know that going in I had any idea that it would be thinner.
Right.
It wasn't purposefully built to be thinner. It was just meant to be something where you didn't feel like you had to thin it to go through the airbrush. So we deal a lot in viscosity and making sure that, you know, the consistency is right for the task you're using. And a thick varnish. Like the gloss is probably a little bit thicker, but it still sprays very well.
Yeah.
But, you know, when it comes to the matte, we didn't want you to dilute it because as soon as you dilute it, you lose some of the matting effect.
Yeah, okay.
You know, whereas with the gloss, that's not the case. You can dilute the gloss and it's still going to gloss.
You're using magnesium right now,
I'm using magnesium right now, yes, because this is a painting stream, Christopher. I don't know if you know that.
Hey,
but
Jason.
Because it's a painting stream,
Okay.
I'm painting.
Okay.
And in painting, I have to choose a color. And so I chose a color, and that color that I chose is magnesium.
Okay.
To get us started here on this gold trim.
So
I'm doing kind of that dirty gold workup like I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because it's so fast and looks so good. It gives you a very good way to control highlights using metallics.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people say, okay, so how can I pull off the non-metallic look with metallics? And the thing that most people miss is that the goal is high contrast. So, you know, most of your metallics are typically going to be brighter colors, you know. And so if you just paint rich gold on there, you're not going to find a lot of contrast with anything else. You can't paint like white over the top to get brighter than rich gold.
Right.
That doesn't work. So in this case, we want to start with a very dark metallic like magnesium. Or if I were doing silver, I might just use dark silver and then silver over the top, you know. But this will allow me the ability to kind of put a lighting direction to it, get the contrast on the model that feels more akin to the way we paint non-metallic metal. It'll never be exactly the same. But that gold workup we did for the short, or that little outtake that you posted on YouTube.
Yeah, we did a tutorial.
I think it was great.
On it.
And so I'm using it here.
I'm going to copy that and share it here.
That's what we'll be doing. It's
Mitri
literally,
says,
I think, 3 colors. If you know, I always forget what colors I use, but it's magnesium, rich gold, and then like white gold or light bronze at the end.
Mitri says, I have a silly question. Do the Pro Acrylics line work better with a wet palette than a normal acrylic line?
Our paints have a longer open time, and the chemical composition that allows that to be the case will create a little bit of an issue on a wet palette over time. They work great on a wet palette, you know, when you're just doing short burst painting for a session. But if you're the kind that like leaves your paint on a wet palette for an extended period of time, you just have to be sure that you're not over wetting the wet palette. Our paints don't like to sit in a lot of water for a long time. It's detrimental to keeping the suspension tied together. So just be careful with it. You know, a lot of people over-wet their wet palette because they use it as a thinning device, and that's not what it's for. So just make sure that you're not flooding. I call it flooding your wet palette.
Flooding
you know,
palette.
Just getting it too wet.
So Kruger has a question. Is it true that for the creation of a color, that there's an actual part of the material being used to make that color? For example, the gold paints, is there actual parts of gold inside the paint?
No. No, it's in case of ours, it's mica, and they're little flakes of mica that are colored.
Mitri, glad that helped you with your question.
And then you can also mix pigment in with it, you know, for like colored metallics. The metallic flake itself might be one color, and then you might add some pigment to the paint to adjust that color a little bit. There's lots of ways to do it. And you know, there may very well be gold paints out there that have, like, you know, some gold plated flakes in them.
Yeah. Okay.
Aluminum flake that's anodized gold is a way to do it. Like the alcohol based metallics, you'll find a lot of times if they have aluminum flake in them, that's the way they do that. So, but no, I don't think you'd paint with true gold.
Oh,
I mean, there are gold.
We paint
leaves.
with true gold.
There are gold leaves and things like that you can use in painting and in fine art.
I've seen some people do that on some trim, like the gold leaf
trim.
Oh,
actually do gold leaf?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive. I don't see a need for it. That's pure insanity.
You don't want pure gold on your minis?
Pure insanity is what that is.
Nibling says, I live in the desert. First time chat. Welcome in. I live in the desert of Nevada. Do you all have as much trouble keeping your wet palette decently wet for multiple hour paint sessions?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're in Arizona, so we've got the same problem you do. That's why I don't use one. Because you spend more time maintaining the wet palette than it offers you in any kind of good. I just use a dry palette paper, or a piece of glass, and have for pretty much my whole life. I've used wet palettes, and I've shown people how to use wet palettes, and you know, we'll bust one out every now and then to do a quick lesson or tutorial with it. But
and you know, Jordan uses one.
Yeah,
too.
Jordan uses one here,
but he doesn't keep his very wet.
You're either finding a way to continually add water to it, Or fighting with the edges curling, the edges of the paper curling up and things like that.
That's looking good. I like magnesium. I like the magnesium.
The magnesium is very good.
I do like magnesium. Chad, have I mentioned that I liked magnesium? Because I'm saying it publicly. It's a great, great color to start essentially anything metal.
Silvers or gold, yeah. Any white or yellow metal is just fantastic with magnesium as a base.
Big Bob says I'm going to get an entire army of an entire Custodes army and get them gold plated. First, I need to refinance a house.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Good luck.
I'm wondering about the cost of this insanity.
Somebody out there is going to do it.
Best in show.
Orky Fish says, can I get a second palette cam? I need to see the vertical texture of the paint. I want to see volume. Orky Fish. No!
Don't give him any ideas. Come on.
That's my reply.
He already forced this whole palette cam thing on us once.
Whoa.
Don't,
Wait, me or Orky?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
I did not force the palette cam.
100%.
I did it for the people.
100%.
I did it for the people. T. Schmidt says, my engineering brain want to rig up some sort of moisture sensor and automate wet palette filling. My painter's brain says, that's stupid. T. Schmidt, you might be onto something there. Which side of the brain will you listen to, though? That's the question.
Which gives in first?
That's good luck. Big Bobzilla says, we still need a Chris cam so we can see his antics after he's been fed. False. That show is just for Jason.
He didn't do lunch today that I know of.
No, not today. I'm calm and collected and happy to be here. Is that okay, Big Bob? Is that okay? Papa Chicken says, you know what would be better than a palette cam, Chris? No palette cam. Why'd you force that on us anyways? False, Papa Chicken.
It's hard.
False.
Hard to deal with Chris.
Insta-banned. You're insta-banned.
Chris and his antics.
Welcome to the
Every now and then you just have to pick your battles wisely, and when Chris says, I need a palette cam, you're just like, Chris, I don't think it's going to work. I don't really think we need it, but because I love you,
I want
to give you some wins, I'm going to allow it.
I'm going to throw up right here in the producer's chair.
And so there you go. So like I said, it's called Pick Your Battles Wisely, chat. And understand how to,
this is horrible.
Allow your Chris to have some pleasure in life.
Oh, now I'm a Chris. Now I'm just a singular entity out there of many. Hey, Chris. There's only one.
But you're my
He's
Chris.
retired.
But you're my Chris.
Oh, that's true. God bless America. I'm here. Here's what I'm going to tell you, all you people, all the people. I gave you what you wanted, and remember me.
Remember me. You'll miss me when I'm gone.
Remember me.
You'll miss me when I'm
Kruger
gone.
says, which one method of blending colors do you recommend, and which one is your favorite? Is it hard to blend colors with glazing?
I don't know that I have a favorite, and that's a lot in one question, by the way, so I'm going to kind of pick it apart here. I don't think in terms of a favorite. I think that like any toolbox, and I know that's probably a way overused analogy, right? But the tools in your toolbox are all equally valuable when presented with a task that only that tool does well, right? I can go for, days, weeks, months without needing a screwdriver, but I better have one when I need it. And blending is really just about like how much surface area do I have on the model to do a blend, because that can dictate the technique that I use. If it's a very small area on a Space Marine face, then, probably wet blending is out of the question for me, because it just takes me more space to do it confidently.
Yeah.
So, I would do layering and blend with layers, and that works really well. There are some people that get tremendous blends and only glaze. Mashik is a great example. Mashik's blends, Flame on Miniatures, his blends are insane. Look at that. That looks like he airbrushed it, but he brush painted that all in front of me at contrast, and that's all glazes, right? It's blocking in of colors with opaque shapes, and then blending the edges of those shapes into one another with glazes. Lots of very kind of fine tip brush glazing, not overall filtering glazing, but very like pointed and specific area blending with glazes. And then I tend to layer, so I don't glaze as much, but I can get really nice blends on things and layer colors by either mixing the colors, so that I take 2 colors and mix it into where it looks like 6, because you keep adding one color into the other. That's what this is. And so you can kind of, this is Dark Sea Ben, and I think Bright Pale Green, and all I did was, that's just the 2 colors on the armor, and then all I did was mix in more Bright Pale Green into the Dark Sea Ben as I went, and eventually you get a nice blend by layering it up over and over and over again. For me, that is more comfortable, so I probably turn to that more often. But it's I'm able to do whatever.
Yeah.
I think you're best served to learn as many blending techniques as possible, so that you can use the correct one
for the correct situation.
For the situation.
Yeah.
Right? Because if all you know how to do is glaze, and then you get into a spot where you're, glazing over a big side of a tank or something, where, maybe you should have wet blended your base coat instead, then you may not be as happy with the outcome. It's like trying to build a house with only a screwdriver. Yeah, I brought that all back together there.
I was just about to say, I was like,
tools,
wow,
screwdriver.
that's a pro right there.
Right.
Tools, pro, best tools. Here we go. Hopefully that answers your question. Finn's got a really good question. How do you decide whether to use non-metallic metal or true metallic metal? Are there reasons, such as certain things making one look better over the other, or is it more just what you want in the mood to paint?
I paint 90% or more non-metallic metal. It's a preference, right? It literally is just what I like more. I like non-metallic metal the best. It gives me complete control over light and balance of vibrancy. And metallics are harder to work with in that regard, because they're reflective paints, right? They're an effect paint, so to speak. And that, the way light hits them is going to dictate where the brightest spot is. I don't get to define that as easily. I can still do it, but never 100%. The only way I can define light 100% with a metallic paint is to take all the gloss away from it, which, why would I do that anyway? I should have just painted non-metallic, because then it's just a color. So it's really preference. When you ask, is there a situation where you might, if you're painting an army and you're trying to get it done quick, and you've decided that, hey, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, on defining shadows and light. I just want, a good looking army quick. Then metallics work really well, because you can literally just base in a color like this magnesium, and then do a edge highlight on it, and you could be done. So it could make it very speedy for you to do so. So that might be a thing that guides your hand. So that's really where it comes down to. Like, when I talk to people, that's kind of the thing that I would say is, are you trying to get done quick? Where's your confidence level? Things like that.
The real question is not just... I can't see it. I can't quite see all the birds.
On these pieces, I'm thinning. I've got a lot of moisture on the brush, so the magnesium is, I'm not really worried about the burnt sienna on the magnesium, but it is showing through on some spots. Also, the blue. Remember, I didn't go back and black out any of these things like I normally would. We have a bunch of overbrushing with the dry brush, and so there's some blue left on here. And I kind of like the idea, when going fast and painting something quick and easy like this, is that the metallic can go over there, and if a little bit of the blue and if a little bit of the burnt sienna show through, then it just brings an environmental color into the metal, like a reflective.
Gosh dang, I've freaking love this workup right now.
It's so easy.
Well, it's just yeah, dude, it is good. And I don't want to even call it easy. It's just good. It is easy, but you know what I mean.
Well, I think
It's
that's
the
the
instant
combo that I'm trying to show
gratification,
off
yeah.
is that easy doesn't, in our hobby so often, easy and quick sacrifice quality. And then you get painters who will show you, that speed paints don't have to look like garbage and proceed to spend 80 hours using speed paints as just, advanced filters and glazes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, tools that make things easy can be used as advanced tools as well. But what can we be doing that actually keeps painting easy, I guess, not makes it easy.
That's a
keeps
good way,
painting
yeah.
easy and still turns out good quality that you can, feel confident putting on the table, and your friends are going to like it. People are going to want to pick your models up and look at it, because at the end of the day, there is a really good level of attaboy or appreciation that makes you feel good and drives you further in the hobby.
Yeah, 100%. When you see something go to this level in a day, or like not even a day, when I say a day, just I mean a painting day.
Yeah.
Get you jazzed, hopefully.
I never know what to do with these plates on here. Should that be gold too?
Which one? Okay, isn't that white?
Like this nameplate?
Yes. I would think so.
It's like a plate that should have a name on it is the problem.
It's funny because I kept referencing that one image on the website. I was just curious of like what that thing is. I think making it gold would be cool.
We just can't really, with the metallics, it's going to be difficult then to put any kind of a name on it if we wanted to put lettering on it.
What other would it be? Would it be like a seal cover, like a purity seal cover or something?
I have no idea.
Like white?
I literally have no idea.
Ivory?
I can make it work. I like the idea of it being metallic, so that's what we're going to do.
Meat treat. Where did you get your glass palette? Did you just go to Home Depot or something? Or
it's Amazon. It's actually an artist palette.
Yeah, you could type in glass palette and it'll literally be the first one on Amazon. Glass painting palette. Or painter's palette.
Yeah, it's painted gray on the backside, and is just a great tool. The gray base, make sure that all your colors are the right color visually on the palette. They don't look different. Like, don't use a white background for your paint when you're using a palette. It's really bad.
Not using white?
Well, using a white paper or something as a background for your paint is really bad, because it will make all of your paints appear darker than they really are.
Oh, okay.
Because the white, if the paper's brighter...
Oh, yeah. I feel you.
Right? Then it gives you an incorrect visual contrast for the colors as you're mixing them, and that can lead you astray. So gray is a very good neutral tone, both in brightness, but you can see like all my colors stand out against it. So... Yeah. And the colors that are in the same value range as the gray are meant to be. So it doesn't make any of your colors look brighter or darker than they really are. Helps a lot. What was that?
I just noticed my OCD kicked in when I switched over to the palette camera.
Oh, could you see it?
A little tip of the
fuzz on the mic.
Fuzz.
The mic guard there.
The Pop Chicken has a good question.
What happens when you pop a chicken?
You keep saying that, and I don't know if I agree. Mentally and physically and emotionally, It's
a question. You don't agree with questions. You just answer them.
I don't know, man.
Just answer the damn question, Chris.
I can't, man. Do you see any value in painting true metallics with the same workup as non-metallics, says Papa Chicken?
Okay, so...
Two different techniques.
If you were to use the same technique, as far as like how you layer brightness and darkness with a metallic, you're not going to get as much out of it. You can, but remember that the reflectiveness of the metallic paint alone is going to make it very difficult to see the changes that create, that non-metallic feel, right? So like what I do here, like on the armor, the transition from dark to bright is not going to be as recognizable across a surface that as you rotate it and are painting, you're going to overwhelm your midtones with the shine of the metallic paint. So it's a different process. Can you take a brighter metallic and block it into where you want the bulk of the shine to be? Yes. And then use a darker metallic, which is what we're going to be doing here. So you'll get a little bit of that feel, but you're not going to recreate this in metallic paint very easily. You're going to need the paint to create most of the reflection for you. Or you're going to matte the paint down to a point to where it's not reflective at all, at which point you should have just used those colors of normal paint. Right? Does that answer the question?
I think so. Hopefully that answers your question there, Papa Chicken.
All right, we can do the Terminator emblem on the knee and the shoulder. We can do them in bone, or I can do those in gold as well.
Are they... Is there a reason why it would be in bone, story-wise? Do they do that?
It's just how I've painted them my whole life, right? Is that you just kind of paint them in
I think gold could be cool.
I'm going to do the Terminator cross.
In gold?
In gold.
And then the skull?
And then maybe we'll do the skull in bone.
Quizilla's asking, if you use speed paints for, in quotes, blocking, and you're going to put lights over any of it, or over anyway, is it just faster to use normal opaque paint and pin wash some shadow line at the end?
Read that back to me, because you lost me at the very beginning when you're like blocking with speed paints.
Yeah, if you use speed paints for blocking, and blocking is in quotes, and you're going to put lights over anyway, it's just faster to use normal opaque paint and pin wash some shadow lines at the end.
I mean, that's what speed paints are meant to do, is give you a base coat and a sort of wash all in one. So they're meant to take one step out. That's really it, right? I guess if you zenithal highlight, it takes multiple steps out because you also get an initial highlight out of it too, right? So if you've got like a zenithal white over black, then when you do the speed paint, you're going to get the shadow, midtone, and highlight all in one coat. But you've had to zenithal highlight it too. So I really think it only really cuts out like one step. But yes, I mean, you could base, like we did this the same way. We just base coated it, and then, pin wash, I guess, is not the perfect word, because we didn't pin wash. We did an overall filter with a wash that added shade and such to it. If you weren't here yesterday, you can see how we got all of this blue armor done like in what would have been under an hour.
Yeah, if you weren't obviously answering questions. Super quick workup.
It's all dry brush.
Nibling says, is there any special... I'm guessing I'm looking to get some more primer in the nearest future. Is there anything special to know about the Monument rattle can in the desert?
No.
Works great.
Shake it, spray it.
We're outside all the time spraying them. I've used a boatload of it. Amazing. Once you try our black rattle can primer, you're not going back.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. If you want an example, watch any of the beginning series from the last couple months, right, where Jason starts up a new project, and it's all done with our black primer.
It's almost too black.
It's too
for
matte.
Using on stream, right? Because
it's hard to
our
see
black
the focus.
primer makes it so hard to see any detail on models.
Yeah,
because it's so black.
And you want to know what's so funny? The only reason why even that texture trainer can come up is that sometimes, like when I touch the surface, my
hand
oil highlights it because it's so matte.
Yeah,
it's awesome. It's great stuff. You won't go back.
but no, there's no restrictions. You obviously don't want to leave cans of any kind of rattle can paint out in like your garage in extreme temperatures, both cold or hot. So if you live in the desert, if you're like in Arizona and it for a large part of the year is in the hundreds and probably 130 in your garage. Don't store your paint out there. Most times we tell people that when you're getting your rattle can prepped, you need to do warm water on it, because a lot of people have gripes about how sprays react when they're in cold storage. And so you soak it in warm water to bring the can up to room temperature before you spray it. But the same holds true if you're in an absolute hot climate, that there might be times where you have to put it in cold water to get it to what would be 70 75 degrees Fahrenheit type room temperature.
Fjord Horde, the black rattle cam primer is exceptional. I wish you did it in dark purple.
We've thought about it. Dark purple and red oxide for it. We're talking to the Color Forge team to see if we can't make that happen.
The dark purple spray can would be dope.
Yeah, that could be a thing.
Can we get a water cup cam? No, Ted Onions.
Poking the bear.
I would say
You're poking the bear. Here comes the no.
no.
Yeah, he just says no. He's like, he's big fanfare. No, it's coming. You knew it was coming. You
Ted Onions
kind of knew.
I will.
Coming.
Good job at trying. I like that. Keep it up. No. Paint's great color forge can. Rattle can is objectively my desires. Yes, Dusty Hobbies. That's a good one too. Sarlacc pick cam. No. We keep that on the other side of the desk, away.
Wait, we have a Sarlacc pit? I'm just
Yeah,
catching
dude.
up to this conversation.
You know the Sarlacc pit. It's your
my
cup of
cleanout.
doom. Whatever we want to. The Sarlacc pit. That's what it is.
It needs a camera.
No, it's such a no.
Yeah, because like during stream, what if it moves and we're not there to see it? Like, what if chat's like, "Oh my god, it moved!"
If it moves, I'm out of here. I'm leaving.
I got bad news for you, Chris. I've heard it over there like rattle around from time to time.
I don't know, man. Hey, speaking of rattling around, Flapjack.
Welcome everybody.
Welcome in, and Flapjack with the sub. 11 months.
Flapsack, awesome. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, you are 1 month away from 1 year liar status.
Shapow.
Nice. That's rich gold.
Shebang.
That's
Shaboom,
rich gold.
Shabow. Shabow. Shlemiel, Shlemazel.
So what are you doing here? You using rich gold?
House and Pfeffer Corporated. Huh?
You're using rich gold? Tell me how you're using this.
I'm gonna put about some more magnesium and some rich gold on the palette. I am going to take the rich gold, now that we have a nice dark base with the magnesium, and we're going to take the rich gold and do a 50-50 mix of rich gold magnesium, just brush mixing. I'm not going to actually worry about it too much, but I'm going to get an in-between color of the two. This is, to somebody who was asking about blending, one of the easiest ways to blend is layering. And when we layer, you're going to mix colors. And so you take magnesium and rich gold, and I'm going to pull a little bit of magnesium over here with the rich gold, and I'm going to get a color that's kind of right in between them, brightness-wise, is what I'm looking for, right? So, I don't want it to jump immediately into rich gold style brightness, but I want to have it start leaning into that color. So now I've got a nice in-between mix. And then we just start going in towards our highlight areas, right? I'll do
Or going to town.
the top spots on all these bits we've painted. And that'll be kind of the, way to paint with metallic paints that will start to drive highlight into them and control more. Some people just put the metallic paint on the model and then put a wash on it and call it done. Doing what you see me do here is always going to give you a better look because it's going to give you more depth. You're able to control where your lighting direction is as you go to brighter colors. You can still use a wash on it and such, but...
Clarkatron, 18 months. Thank you so much. Pento asks, what's your go-to workup for Space Marine cloths? I can't settle on something I just like yet.
On Space Marine what?
Cloths? Like cloth.
Like the loincloth on this guy?
Yeah, cloths.
I guess it depends. Like, what do you mean? Like, what color chapter are you doing, right?
Does
you
it
can
change?
Do whatever color you want.
Isn't it like a typical like ivory-ish?
I mean, if you look at GW, yeah, they do like a parchment kind of.
That's
color.
not like specific to a legion or a faction or something.
I don't think so. You can do red if you want. What makes sense? Black, red. I guess I would base it on what faction I was painting and what I wanted it to look like.
Leopard print, says Wad.
Leopard print for sure. If you have that patience, I applaud your efforts.
Oh, I love this. I love this gold workup. It's so good.
Yeah, you'll get a subtle highlight start to show up. I'm only painting the tops of things. I don't have to worry about blending. I don't have to, brush control is really just quick swipes of color.
Yeah.
But it starts to align highlighting.
So good.
And it looks blended because of the fact that the color is close enough to our base color as we do this that it's not going to jump out and give tremendous contrast right out of the gates. That's the thing you have to watch out for when doing metallics especially. Right?
Dusty Hobbies got your Dauntless brush set in. Nice. They're amazing, says Dusty Hobbies. Yes, I use them all the time as well. They're awesome.
They're a really good workhorse brush. I am really stoked that everybody's liking them. We had for years had a good workhorse synthetic in the lineup. And then when we came out with the pro synthetics, we stopped because they were just so good. And we were like, well, there wasn't a really good filament in between that I was happy with. So we
and these ones are great.
Put on hold, and then we get the benefit of working with our partners and see new filaments as they're made, and ask questions and give new requisites for what I would like to have happen. And sometimes we get lucky and we get a neat one that comes in. And like I said, when they told me, oh yeah, it'll work just like a Sable, I'm like,
will it?
Doesn't, but it feels really good. So while it doesn't work exactly like a Sable, it as a synthetic, these Dauntless brushes, that's what I'm using right now. They draw paint, load paint, we'll say, very well. And then they have a very controlled release of paint on the model. You never feel like it's going to burp paint out on the surface uncontrollably. And that's one of the big problems with cheap synthetics that you would normally get. If you don't want to spend a whole lot on brushes, you might go and buy a 10 for $5 at Walmart, and then they don't draw paint very well, so they don't hold paint evenly on the bristles. And then when you go to paint with it, every now and then you'll, maybe change the pressure you're painting with, and the paint will just kind of flood out of the brush onto the surface of the model, which is never a good thing. So yeah, very happy with them.
Pento saying, currently I'm painting Blood Angel's army with all pro acryl. I'm wanting to do some black and some OG GW tan and cream, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
What colors would you use for those?
I like, be honest with you, the dark umber, light umber, olive flesh makes really good for that. You can change the olive flesh out for ivory. Our ivories work really, really well for that. But the dark umber is great. But with the advent of the browns that came out in the Flame On set, a bunch of those are really good too, right? The green brown, orange browns, those colors work really well as a base for it too, and then move into like olive flesh, ivories for the the tan-ish color. That works great.
Awkwardish, welcome in. 10 stream streak. Ooh. Oh, hey, button to hit. I hate the streak reset because I lurk so much while I'm working. Hey, that's okay. We know you're here in spirit. And speaking of being here in spirit,
welcome everyone.
Welcome in everybody. We're so glad you chose Monument Hobbies for your viewing pleasure today. Jason has been painting up this beautiful Space Marine yesterday and today. Got most of the blue work up done. Actually, if not all of it yesterday.
We're flying, yeah.
Yeah. So if you missed that, check that out.
My goal was to get the blue done in a day.
Now we're doing some shiny bits with magnesium as a base and then a magnesium rich gold blend going on here. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Artistic Outlaw says, is this the gold workup magnesium? Yes. And if you want the full explanation of this workup, Artistic Outlaw, great segue, by the way, check out this link right there. That takes you to the whole thing. This is just a tinier version of it. You can see the full one on the texture trainer there. Chuck says, in today's, actually yesterday's episode of Adventures in Machine Shops, we had an employee misload a gear blank into a 240-ton press. And when the broach
That works
struck
well.
it, went kablam and shattered the part into high-speed shrapnel, sending the employee to the ER. Holy cow. Yikes.
Do you not have qualified individuals where you live?
Chuck, you have
I
a lot
have
of...
worked around machine shops. I never worked in one, but I have worked with them as vendors and stuff. And I can't tell you of a single one that has had the amount of problems that you encounter, Chuck.
Chuck, you have a lot of adventures. That's all I'm going to say.
In an industry that should not be adventurous is the problem. Never have I experienced a machine shop that has had that kind of problems. I've known of machine shops where you've had a guy that's had a mistake on a machine and it goes catastrophic or whatever, but come on, man. Really?
Qualified individuals, ? What are those?
Yeah. There you go. Answers my question. A shame, too, right? Because no matter if you're qualified or not, machinists get paid a pretty good amount of money.
I can imagine.
You know?
Pento, 3-month streak. Thank you for that resub.
So the person that did this probably got paid pretty well to do that, which is frustrating in and of itself.
You guys should have one of those big rippable counters, days without incident. You'd probably have to buy multiple every week to start the cycle back. Oh, Chuck says, we pay well below the average scale for the industry in our area.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, that'll do it.
Pay more. Pay more and have people on site more. Let me talk to your boss. I can fix this. Be the one shop in your area that pays to scale and watch the business soar.
Orky Fish says, I'm thinking of getting into some old hammer. I'm struggling with finding a good workup on goblin green bases. Any help? ?
You can't get me that way.
That's what Orky Fish said. I see what you're trying to do there. I don't know if you're trying to win back my favor, Orky, or after your suggestion of a cup cam, or if you really are being genuine. My heart can't tell. My naive little heart wants you to want a Green Goblin based tutorial, but I don't think that's what you're doing.
His naive little heart.
That's right.
Are you buying any of this, chat? X up in chat if you think Chris is lying again.
Whoa! Volty, 15 months. That's not a lie. Ted Onion says, I feel like Jason never cleans the brush. How does it not dry in the ferrule?
It does.
It does that. It does this thing.
It does. My brushes are a disaster, dude. What are you talking about?
Jason does not clean them.
For the company that has the best brush soap on the planet, you'd never know it.
I was just about to say.
Jen gets mad at me because she's
right
like,
over
we
here.
have a product for that. And I'm like, yes, and I just never remembered it.
It's on the desk. It's right there. OMG, am I a troll, Orky? Yeah, you're a troll. There's several X's, but not that many. So we're all 50-50 on Chris is a liar. I like this. Papa Chicken says, if we're not going to get a
Hey,
goblin...
Chris, what happens when you pop a chicken?
Okay, I knew it. I don't know. I can't answer that question.
If I were to pop a chicken, does it make a sound?
If
Is it
we're
like,
not, if we're not going to get a Goblin Green base tutorial, could we at least get a tartan base tutorial? What's a tartan? Tartan?
Kind of fish stick. Maybe it's the sound a chicken makes when you pop it.
Maybe that's what it is. No, with Papa Chicken. The answer is no. Boo-ray's asking, Goop 2.0 when? Question mark.
I don't know what their timing is on it, but it's coming. It's coming very soon.
Awkward says, hands up if in chat if you think Chris isn't a liar but is a mess. I'll give you that one, Awkwardish. That's hilarious.
A mess?
A mess.
You're definitely a mess.
Me? No, I'm not a mess.
I mean,
I am not. I'm a clean fellow.
I mean,
I'm a clean man. Tried and true. Nibling says, I love Goblin Green bases. So nostalgic. Okay. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. They are. For better or for worse.
horrible human beings.
Jason, on one hand, does not like them. I, on one hand, just want to see them done.
Horrible human beings. All right. So there you go. 50-50 with the gold and the magnesium.
50-50.
Start getting some good highlight going on. Right? Makes for a nice metal. Nice clean metal. Now, straight up rich gold, baby. Zoinks. See that contrast? Whoa. What? And that, we just want to, again, with, quite a bit of moisture on the brush so that you're not at full opacity on these things. So that you're able to give it a little bit of burst of brightness. Treat it like a normal paint. The metallics are no different than any other paint you're going to use. You don't have to do anything special with them. You can blend with them, glaze with them, do everything the same. I think that's one of the biggest things to get across to people is that they'll think metallics are a totally different beast and not treat them accordingly. And start thinking there's some magic properties that you have to abide by before you can get them to work well. You don't. Just treat them like a normal paint. They tend to blend a little easier because of the shine, so they don't show your mistakes as readily as a normal paint. So they do have some benefit in that regard.
Artistic Outlaw. I think this exact color scheme would be perfect for 1,000 Suns if it's got a grim, dark, Egyptian-like feel. Oh.
Good, yeah. I feel like Thousand Suns want to be a little bit more of a turquoise color.
1,000 Suns?
Yeah. In my book.
You could do the same.
You do what you want.
You could do the same workup, right? But just change up the color scheme. Technique.
You might even be able to do exactly the same and then just use turquoise instead of sky blue.
Oh, yeah.
The base blues might work just fine.
Yeah.
And then just move to turquoise for the highlight. Could probably do very well because they'll still catch enough of that greenish tint for the eye to register it as being greenish blue as opposed to pure blue. I don't know that I would do the Payne's Gray wash.
George saying Goblin Green bases are hideous. Yesterday, my dad was waxing poetic about how happy he is that I'm painting and that I'm enjoying the hobby when I only liked TCGs growing up. I told him it's because early 90s models had Goblin Green bases and were boring. Hey, they were a thing back in the day.
A horrible, horrible thing.
Porky Fish, 1,001 Suns is better. Okay. I'll give you that one.
Depends on if you're buying groceries or not.
Okay. Oh, man. A boring thing. Dusty Hobby says, how might Jason adjust army painting style gold workup for something more brilliant and less dirty? You maybe skip the magnesium step and go into bright gold.
Yeah, you could not go as dark, right? You're learning that it's that initial contrast that's provided by a dark base that makes everything a little grimier. But I mean, I could still push this to be really brilliant. I would go brighter than you're gonna see me go, but you could still do it. I like to start from a dark foundation of color no matter what I'm painting. because it always gives me the ability to have a very nice controlled dark shadow for contrast. So, don't ever rule out using a dark color just because you think you want it to be a brighter gold. Having a dark foundation for your shadows is always good. You don't have to leave a lot of it showing, because the way that I teach painting, you have recognized, you've been here very long, is that you're constantly covering up your last layer with your next layer, and you could cover it 100%. Like if you think, oh, that's too dark, you just cover it up with the next one. But having it as a starting point so you can kind of determine where you want your shadows to lie is a lot smarter way to paint than starting brighter and then saying, oh, that's too bright, and then having to go back at some point and try to figure out how to darken it up.
Dusty Hobby says, thanks, Jason. I feel like tackling a gold armored miniature soon as a bit of a palette cleanser. I was just thinking about using, just for fun, you could get a Stormcast model and do this workup on the whole thing.
Yeah.
That would be dope.
As we get towards these top areas, I just want to pick a spot for the brightest shine, so kind of right at the apex of that shoulder plate curve, and then leave it dark as it comes down the front, and then maybe just get this back edge too, maybe even the bottom edge to line in. You want to pop in really close on that?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell, but
Ooh, yeah.
the highlights just on both the trim underneath and on this is just kind of in that center area, and then it gets into darkness towards the edge, so it starts to locate your light. It's never going to be as good as doing non-metallic metal, but it's going to look good. It's just not going to be consistent. As you rotate the model, the shine will move, but still going to look really good.
Yeah, I'm really digging this workup.
And it's not much harder or more time than just painting it with a bright color and then doing a wash. And I feel like you get much better results this way with metallics.
Blu-ray says, definitely experienced putting too dark on first. Painting the white tiger for the MCP Malekith model and started too dark and ended up going back over everything with cool gray.
But you can do that. See, the point is that you can do that and work your highlights in more, but starting dark is better than having started too bright and having to work your shadows back in, is my point. That winds up usually being more of a detriment to your process, because it's easier to mess up shadows for most people than to, just go another layer of highlight on there if you don't like the brightness at the end. But yeah, definitely when doing things that are in whites or bright colors, a lot of people will take the stance that, well, it's going to be a bright color anyway, so I'm just going to start brighter because that means I can paint it quicker. And then you might not be happy with it because you lose contrast. Everything still has shadows. And so you want to make sure that you give yourself the ability to lay that shadow on there. And you just have to think in more of a what I would call a subtractive mentality. I can reduce the amount of shadow by painting more bright colors over the top of the shadow, and that works great. But to have to go back later and paint the shadow on I hate it. So.
Orky Fish Meat says, can we get a Tank Tracks workup? Tank Tracks?
Sure. Yeah, the last tank that we did was really a walker, right? So we
didn't have any tracks.
Do tanks. We didn't do treads on them. But treads give people hassles. because they're difficult. And you know what? One of the funniest things about treads that I can tell you just right now, and it might blow your mind, the most beneficial tool you have is one that probably isn't in your painting toolbox right now. Is a number 2 pencil.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Honest to God, the most valuable player in painting tank tracks is a number 2.
Why is that?
Graphite pencil. Because you kind of dry brush the tracks with the graphite pencil.
Oh, okay.
And it gives it the feel of worn steel.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you varnish over the top of that. That's one of the old tricks that we use. You can do the graphite on the edges of the tank as well.
Oh, okay.
And it makes it look like the paint has rubbed off on the edges.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. Monument.
It's a great trick for all sorts of stuff. It's just not one that a lot of people are comfortable with, because if you don't varnish your model, the graphite will rub off.
Monument pencils incoming.
No.
We'll give you the best number 2 pencil on the planet.
It'd just be a yellow freaking hexagonal haft.
Twisty Farmer, I have an odd question about paint consistency. I have some colors like red, yellow, blue, and black that the paint is very thin out of the bottle, and some like camo green, dark silver, dark umber that are thicker out of the bottle. Is that normal? Am I doing something wrong? They're all stored in the same place.
I mean, the viscosity has a range with us, so I'm not going to tell you that it can't happen. It shouldn't be to a point where it's noticeable when painting. And what I mean by that is that, you shouldn't ever have a problem with the paint going on the model. You might have to use a little bit more water on your brush for one versus another, but it shouldn't cause you any issues. If you feel like it's causing you issues when painting, then contact customer support. But yeah, there's a viscosity range for approval and batch approval for us. And it's not super broad. But yeah, you'll find colors be inconsistent in viscosity sometimes. But they will paint identically to each other regardless. That can also happen over time, especially if you've accidentally left a bottle open for any time. But assuming you haven't done that, then it's really just a matter of...
Cyberspy's asking, what figure is this?
It's called Space Marine Captain in Terminator armor.
Artistic Outlaw's asking, you speak a bit more to the use of a pencil in the toolkit.
What do you mean?
All right, that's just what Artistic Outlaw was asking.
Well, the graphite pencil it's a really neat way to get a silvered edge effect on models, like a worn metal edge
that has been rubbed off, like the paint has been rubbed off, exposing
Correct.
that metal underneath.
Yeah, correct. I don't have all I have is a mechanical pencil here, I think. Yeah, I have a couple mechanical pencils. You can't use a mechanical pencil. It has to be a graphite center pencil, right? Like a standard 2H kindergartner pencil. Wood one where you need a sharpener.
Soccertron, it says, is that even legal to use a pencil on a Mini?
Sure.
Legal.
In most states. They probably say it causes cancer in California, but has to have a Prop 65 tag on it. I don't know.
Orkyfish Meat says, I have a Chimera setting here needing finish. Does plastisteel or ceramite rust? Or does Nergal make it all rust anyway?
Here are the questions for the Emperor. Only the Emperor knows.
Michael Holt says, I've been seeing advertisements for paint pens. Is that Monument considered doing some? ?
Nah. Bad science.
Flapjack, I wouldn't live by that rule. Flapjack says everything's legal if you don't get caught. I'm just gonna say, uh, just be careful with that one, Flapjack.
So yeah,
That's all I'm gonna say.
That's not right.
It's false.
That's
It's
defined
illegal.
as false. It's not legal for not getting caught. It's just you're not guilty until you're caught. You're not guilty of breaking the law.
Guilty until
you're
proven
caught
innocent.
and tried. It's still illegal.
Michael Holtz, everything causes cancer in California.
California causes cancer.
Hobby specific, rather. I love all the non-hobby specific tricks using mundane items, says Alex WP. Hobby specific, rather.
Oh, 100%, right? It's so great because, you know, and I'm an old man, right? So
You have to use whatever you had.
you had to, before there were hobby goods and companies that made hobby specific products for, you know, scale modeling and stuff, you just found what worked. You know, oh, can I use that? I mean, that's how I started using cling wrap when airbrushing for masking, because there was silly putty that I learned about,
Right.
and cling wrap. So you had clear cling wrap that
Yeah.
I wrap around parts and then airbrush parts for masking it off.
Okay.
But it's really hard to control it because it's wrinkly paper-ish, right? Plastic.
Silly putty will work.
And then the silly putty works, but it has such a density to it, and it's so thick that if you stretch it thin to get a nice tight detail, it tends to tear.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so then you learn to use what now you would use like Badger Balm, right? But you would use like a balm, like a pomade or Vaseline, and you put Vaseline on the silly putty, and then when you stretch it, it keeps it a little consistent, but then it leaves a sheen on your model. So there was all these combative things.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, well, then I'm going to put like a piece of newspaper on the model and then the silly putty over the newspaper, so the newspaper sucks up the oil and the silly putty just sticks along the edge, but then the newspaper wants to fall off with the silly putty. So it just, you know, you're always fighting something in that world.
So many little hobby
but those things still exist, right? I still have silly putty sitting right here that we mask with. You know, production stole our cling wrap at one point in time years ago, but you know, it's all of those things work really well and allow you to get great work done. So you were just talking about using Vaseline for masking. You didn't want to clean that crap up. Oh yeah. No, using Vaseline raw for masking is a problem because cleaning it afterwards is just disgusting.
Oh,
there's no way to get that sheen off, and then you're trying to. I've done this, and don't ever do this, by the way, because then you're trying to matte varnish over the top, and the Vaseline never dries, so your matte varnish doesn't stick. And
Interesting.
It orange peels and gives you all sorts of problems. And don't ever put an oily product on your model.
Yeah.
Unless it's an oil paint that's going to cure and you're using white spirits or something like that and mixing it. But Tadpole Jackson. Back in your day, you had to paint a model uphill both ways in a snowstorm while being smacked in the back with a salmon.
Back in my day, I was climbing it up.
Well, Tom says everything causes cancer, and can you blame Mother Nature? I'd be trying to wipe out humanity too.
She's after us.
It's like that scene in The Matrix where Agent Smith is got Morpheus, and Morpheus is sweating, and Smith rubs the sweat off his forehead and calls them cockroaches, and it's just so poignant, you know, with the robots being like, you know, humanity is just cockroaches. A virus.
Big Bob says, I feel like I need to give this method a try and just see how awful the Vaseline truck is. No, I wouldn't do that.
You know,
it's the smell.
You're the kind of person, Big Bob, that when you run into the big red button that says don't touch, you immediately get anxiety.
Bing. I gotta touch it, right? You gotta go press that button.
The rules are that I have to touch this now, right? All right, so there's with the rich gold on there.
That's looking great.
So that's just magnesium and rich gold with a blend, a 50-50 blend in between, and you can get a really good. And you can stop there, right, and be happy with it. I like taking something like the bright bronze, light bronze, rather than bright gold. And I'll tell you why. Because the bright bronze is still yellow enough to be a highlight for gold, but is not in that same yellow realm as bright gold. Bright gold, this would be where you're talking about the difference between like a tarnished grimdark gold and a shiny gold. Like a shiny, well cared for gold.
Yeah.
Is you use something that starts to tarnish it out. I don't want to say silver because I don't like and believe that you should use a pure silver to highlight gold. That's what happens to gold that's fake. If it's gold or if it's a tin substrate or a silver substrate that's been gold plated or something like that, and then the gold wears off on the edge and you get silver, that tells a story. I think that's its own. Gold doesn't do that as you polish it. It does start to desaturate the yellow in the gold as you over polish or grit and grime it. But I don't like using straight silver. That's why we made the light bronze the way that it is. So it sits in between the two.
I don't use light bronze in a lot of, like, in my normal workups, but for this, that makes sense.
Yeah, and you don't mix it with anything. It's just straight up light bronze. Right?
It's,
See how that's going to look over the gold?
Yeah.
As opposed to a straight silver, but it still has the same effect. It's still going to give us a bright edge.
Yeah.
Right?
I like
it's still going to look silvery, but it retains just enough of that yellow tint to it that it sits on there better. Right? It disappears.
Look at that.
Can you pop in close?
Yeah.
It kind of just becomes a natural highlight and blends right in with the gold, as opposed to the silver would stand out a lot more. So keep that in mind.
Dusty says I'm using light bronze right now. Nice. Hey, speaking of light bronze,
welcome everybody.
Welcome in everybody. It is 3:05 already.
You know what, Chris? I love that you give me that little space every time you say, and speaking of something dumb, and you take a breath and you wait for me to catch up to you and say, welcome in everybody.
Welcome in everybody.
It's almost like it's planned.
It is.
Okay.
It always is. I let you explore the model and the studio all at the same time. I let you explore the show, the spectacle. The Greater Gur says, I'm working on the Warrior Texture Trainer. What would a steel workup be?
What would a steel workup be?
Are you talking about non-metallic metal, the Greater Gur? Or are you talking about true metallic metal?
Yeah, today's the day where that question is relevant.
And not normally, I would say.
Normally, I'm painting non-metallic metal.
I am really liking this. Non-metallic metal, says the Greater Gur.
You know me. I like something like. I guess I call this steel and use something that's like blue-green in the background, but it's not.
That's not steel?
But I would say that it's still a white-ish metal, so I'm not afraid to go into like greens and blues with it. But when I'm typically doing it, it'd be something like Payne's gray and white blue. And you can do the two-color non-metallic metal where you're literally just using Payne's gray, white blue, adding a touch of white blue to each stage to brighten it up until you get the white blue edge highlight at the end, and it works great.
Are you going to do that chaos stripe or that caution striping on his power fist?
On this guy, no.
Yeah.
His is just going to stay blue, I think. Just dull. I like painting them red, but because you have crimson fists...
Oh.
Even though their blue is much darker.
Yeah.
It never really settles right with me doing ultramarine with red, but I really do like the way that looks.
What's the whole story behind the caution fist, the yellow and the
I don't know. GW used to put the caution tape kind of thing on everything that caused damage.
Really?
Yeah, like you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't, but it just looked good.
Okay. There's not like an actual lore reason behind it, right?
Not that I know of. Nobody that I know would take a sword and put a caution tape on it. It's like it's a long, sharp, pointy thing. I don't think it needs to have yellow and black stripes on it. I don't think the power fist needs to be marked as dangerous when it's stuck onto a space marine.
Yeah.
An 8-foot tall towering behemoth that's storming at you to kill you. I think the caution symbol is the least of your worries.
Juan, welcome in. Juan's asking, do you prefer the glass palette over a wet palette?
Oh, 100%. I don't use a wet palette at all. If I'm traveling and it's all I have access to, then I might. But if you saw any of the contrast pictures, all we had was a wet palette at contrast because until my bag showed up, my bag got delayed, and my bag had my dry palette paper in it that Chris and the gang had gotten for me.
Oh no!
And so I didn't have any palette paper, and so it was a wet palette, and I just took the top of Mally's wet palette and used it as a dry palette. I just painted on the plastic. I was like, hey, do you mind if I completely mess this up for you? That'd be great, right?
Work of honor. Iron Warriors use hazard stripes, don't they? Question mark.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but still dumb. Still dumb. If it's used as a heraldry, I can see it, like on the Iron Warriors. But it's still like painted on them on like the Power Fist and like on the leg. It's like, never made sense to me.
Iron
Weird
Warriors.
Design choice. When you take something that is a visual cue that is known to be caution.
I'm looking at it right now. They do use them.
Oh, yeah. Tons. In like a chevron way on the arm and leg and various points, but it can look cool still.
Juan says, thanks for the welcome and for answering. I'm starting out and want to avoid the wet palette, but my paints dry very fast here in arid Spain.
Yep. We're in Arizona in the U.S., and it's super dry. Our typical humidity is about 7%, 7 to 10%, maybe.
We keep a little fan on in here just to circulate the air, so that probably doesn't actually help us. But
no, it doesn't, because it dries out, speeds up evaporation to have the air moving. But you know, you work with what you got. But yeah, right. I'm not a big fan of wet palettes. They tend to overthin your paints. It's not a very controllable science. I'm a technology guy, and when I look at it and I'm like, well, that doesn't do anything, then I don't use it, you know?
Yeah.
Because it feels placebo to me.
Wet
palettes were originally made for paste acrylics, oddly enough. You can use them with paste acrylics, right. And they tend to work better because the paste acrylic, like our expert acrylics, doesn't have as much water content in it to begin with. So they're not going to react as poorly initially.
Oh, okay.
If you flood it, they can still over wet, right? Like, so if you were putting paste acrylics on there to turn them into liquid acrylics, you're just doing it wrong. It's just not benefiting you much. But you know, in the long run, they work really well for that. And believe it or not, for watercolors is what they're really made for. The Masterson company is right down the street from us here in Arizona, and it's funny when I talked to them, when I called them up one day and talked to them. They're a very old school art supply company.
Uh-huh.
And they were like, yeah, it was like, you know, the palette is really just meant for the gouache and watercolors that came in a tube. You can buy watercolor that comes in a tube and is like toothpaste.
Huh.
And they're meant for that because they, you know, in that environment, adding more water is the goal. And so that's what they're built for. You can use them with acrylics and such too. Obviously, they've over the years learned that people like to use them for lots of things, so they've updated it, but it's just not very controllable. You know, in companies like Redgrass and stuff that are continually working science on better papers and all that, until they get a smart paper that, you know, actually can tell how much water is flowing through it and what the water content is of the substrate beneath it, it really is just kind of all pie in the sky wishful thinking.
Micah Ignis, thank you for that raid. 26, welcome in, Raiders.
Hello.
We appreciate that raid. Painting up some Ultramarines today. We've been working on this guy yesterday and today. We've got him to this point, so check it out. D-Fresh has a question. Would you recommend glazing a shadow color when using the metallic paints to prevent the shine from going to the shadowed areas?
It's a good question. I think it's subjective, right? Because the reflective nature, as long as there's any light, the reflection will exist. So unless you're in pure darkness, I think it's okay to have the shine in the shadows. But a wash that limits it more would work. And, you know, we could wash this with some brown wash or some of the brown gray I think I'll use, and put that on there. But I'm kind of liking it the way it is. I like the beat up armor with the shinier metal the way we're doing it. And it works really well. So I don't know that you have to. But yeah, the if you like the shine being taken off in the recesses, and you want it even grimmer and dirtier and darker, then yeah, go for it.
Whitan says, question, when are we getting expert paints in Europe?
The first batch of product for our European warehouse, if you're not familiar, we opened up, or in the midst of opening up Monument EU. And the EU warehouse, the first shipment leaves the States, I'm hoping by Friday, here in a couple days. And if that's the case, I do not know if we have enough paints. The launch of the expert acrylics went so much more than what we had expected, as far as popularity by you guys as the customer. And so we're stuck in a spot where we don't have a whole lot left in stock right now. It's sold out almost completely. So there might be a little bit that hits that first shipment, but if not, then it'll be fast on the tails of that. We'll ship it out on its own in the next stocking shipment. So, long story short, I think probably, mid-July would be safe to say.
Mid-July?
Yeah. It might be sooner. But if it is sooner, you would have to pay close attention and jump on it as soon as you could, because there won't be a lot that go over there. And the reaction in Europe was even bigger than in the States. So you might find that it's, out of stock within an hour. Jeez. Although I guess you have the benefit in Europe of not everybody understanding we have a European supply yet. So that could help.
That's your insider tip. T. Schmidt says, Jason, you made awesome paint. Of course all the nerds want it.
Well, thank you, my friend.
That's true. I think we did also over here. We took an effort to really think about how to tell you guys about it. So I'm glad people are realizing the power of them. They're a really cool tool, especially when you start to think of them in the way that you've done them. Like glazing was the seller for me, like the big aha moment for the expert acrylics.
And you'll find that people that have painted for a long time will say the same thing, that, whenever you get a heavy-bodied acrylic or a paste acrylic that works really well, that the real power of them tends to be in their ability to filter and glaze and make that easier. And by easier, it doesn't make the method any easier for application. You still got to be able to know how to work with thin paint. But what it does is it means that you can get the goal accomplished with like 1, maybe 2 coats, as opposed to some people you'll see glazing 15 coats onto a thing before they really get the color they want.
Panic Bomb says, does that mean more expert colors will be coming? ?
Perhaps, yeah. I was honest when I said that the only thing keeping us from bringing out more was that I was a little reluctant to say that it was going to be a rousing success. We're in a hobby where that is not, the quintessential tool that people think they need. And so it's up to us to kind of show you why and let you decide for yourself. And then, if response was good, yeah, we'll make more. And so it looks like yes.
Artistic Outlaw says, if you wanted to do the same metal color in non-metallic workup, what colors would you choose?
Question. Probably we're talking about like the dark orange brown or burnt sienna base, because you're going to want to pick up the oranges that we get out of the rich gold, so you could do like black brown and burnt orange, burnt sienna, those kind of ranges, and then yellow ochre, warm yellow, same stuff that you normally would do.
Alex WP is asking, are the UK resellers going to be ordering stock from Monument EU going forward? Just wondering if it'll have a knock-on effect for those who are unfortunately Brexited. Brexited. Oh yeah, Brexited.
Or Brexited?
Brexited? Yeah.
No, Element and our partners in the UK, Wayland and Element, are still, in full control of their destiny with the line there. So it's not that you will lose the way you order. Right now, until there's some sort of thing that I think they're still talking about it being a year out, with all the talks of trade deal between Europe and England getting finalized. If they get to a point where, there's easier shipping, then there might be a spot where you can get, um, buy from us in the European website, the Monument website. If the Monument thing grows the way we think it will in Europe, then we're looking to do the same in England. We're already talking with Element about that. So, there's all sorts of things that could happen in the near future in your side of the world. So just stay tuned. We'll keep you posted.
Jason, don't do this to me, says Dusty Hobbies.
What'd I do?
What have we done, Dusty?
I didn't do nothing. Wanna pop in close?
Ooh, look at that. Dusty Hobbies says, I'll work for you.
See, so we've been able to create a kind of non-metallic brightness with the coloring that I've put on there. So you can see this bright band of light, and then again here and on the top on the other shoulder that is done with the light bronze, right? But you'll also notice that the light changing in the room keeps that from being as impactful as if it were non-metallic, but it looks really good. It's a great gold workup. I don't know that I really need a wash. It looks, grimy enough. I think using the magnesium as a base and then doing the mix of magnesium and rich gold is really what drives it home. So
that looks great.
Not too much need.
Dusty Hobby says, I'll work for you. Dangle a Monument UK like that. I'll send you my CV so dang hard.
When it happens, yeah.
We've
got to do some planning over there. I'm not ready to make any of that. We got to have all of our efforts focused on Europe right now.
Nibling says, I know it's early, but will you all be in Vegas in October?
Yes. So far, yes. That is, subject to change, but we are talking with the LVO gang right now. I know, I think Gabe has another meeting with them tomorrow or something. I don't remember. But, yeah. Got all the info. I'm liking this. Looking good. I think I got to paint his face. It's bugging me.
I was just about to say it. When is the face next? But the face is bugging you.
It's bugging me that it's blue.
Yeah.
So, but his face is really weird. He has like half his skull is metal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a thing too. So I think we'll paint some silver first. And the question with that is I'm going to use the magnesium on the silver as well.
Flapjack says, still crazy to me that there's 2 LVOs this year.
Yeah.
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 It's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
They, I guess they had a plan.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a choice.
It's tough for us because you plan out your budget and your timing, and it's really hard to mobilize our stuff to go to a show. Yeah. And so when they announced that, my initial reaction was, "What are they thinking?" But I know they've got their own world to deal with. The the Rio Hotel was not accommodating for them, and wasn't going to be able to grow where they wanted to grow in the future. So, they need to make the hard decisions because, when you get down to brass tacks, your whole existence as a show comes down to things like, well, what's your relationship with the hotel or the conference center you're at?
Yeah.
Right?
It's so much.
And we don't think about
stuff.
that as vendors and such. They're having to work all year round to make sure they get the right date, that they have the right accommodations for all the people, hotel blocks, yada, yada, yada. It's a complicated thing to throw an event like that, no matter how big it is. And it only gets more complicated the bigger it gets. So, while it is irritating as a company that's like, ugh, that's the part of the year where I'm like, oh, I'm so glad shows are over.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
hey, there's a show.
And it's like quadruply hard for us this year because we're going to all the shows in Europe too. And, so that creates its own issues for us, but I can't expect everybody to take sympathy on us. It's like they have a business they're running.
Anakin Skyhumper says, "What's the best way to convince a hobby store owner to ditch Master Series in favor of Pro Acryl? Asking for a friend." Have them call us.
Yeah, I mean, legit. But it sounds like you're having to overcome something other than their ability to get the paint. You're overcoming their want for another paint line, right? So a lot of stores are like, I already have, we have paint at home. We have Pro Acryl at home, Billy. And so they won't see the need. For us, believe it or not, a lot of times we have them discuss it with other stores that they're friends with. Our biggest advocates are the stores that already sell our paint, because they know that we support them. We're an American-made company, so if they're a store in the U.S., they'll get paint, right? Because we make it here in Phoenix, we're generally always in stock. There's times where we run out of stuff because of packaging issues or whatever, but it's very rare and doesn't last very long. So there's a lot of quality reasons, but those are ones where it really takes one of our sales reps to talk to them and build it into their frame of reference. Or like I said, one of their compatriots, somebody else that they respect that owns a store that says, yeah, you know how when you look at your rack, you can never get the colors that sell from the other competitors because they don't ship it quick enough.
We'll get it
to Spain, Europe, wherever. It's like, we're in Phoenix. You can have it in 3 days.
Dazzle's asking, are you guys going to be at the U.S. Open in Tacoma, Washington?
No. Nope. We sponsor a lot of those events. It's rare that we go to them. The gaming events are tougher for us because they generally are not places where people transact as much as from like a vendor hall standpoint. We go to Nova Open because of the Capital Palette, so it's not a impossibility, but we love to sponsor them. So we'll do prize support, work with the people that throw the event to come up with cool ideas with the Green Banner events guys who run the big team championship that's going on this year, and a lot of others. We have like a repair station with them. We have like a monument go bag Evo with a lot of paintbrushes and tools. So if you have a problem with your army when you're there, you can go by and touch it up using equipment that we provide. But we rarely attend them.
Sans is asking, who are the target painters for your large acrylic paint tube products?
You. Me.
You the people. We the people.
Everybody.
Us.
It is a really, really good tool in your toolbox, like we were talking about earlier, for filtering, glazing. You can use it for all sorts of things. They are not as great for base coating in all instances because they are less opaque. Some of the colors are very opaque, right? Red, white, black, even the orange. So you can base coat with them. But they are definitely, what is his, sorry, I'm having a different train of thought here. Like, what is the metal around his face? I guess I'll make it all metal. They're just a great tool. When you learn how well filtering works by using a paint that has such a tremendous density of pigment, which if you're used to our regular colors, they already have the most pigment of any hobby paint you'll use. And so you can take that to another level because the expert acrylics are even more pigment in them than the baseline acrylics. And so now you've got the ability to thin a paint down, lower its opacity, and glaze or filter with it and get done like instantly. We showed it off on stream using a bunch of them to filter on a model's armor after I painted it kind of like chrome, and then went back over it with a greenish yellow filter that I mixed up very quickly by blending the expert acrylics together. And then you're just done. Like one pass just changes the color entirely. So it makes that level of painting super simple.
Matt says, on the Texture Trainer Warrior model, I'm having a very hard time doing non-metallic metal on the axe blade, but not the edge. I can't really find a reference photo or something similar on the big flat part between the blade edge and where it attaches to the handle.
On the Warrior?
On the Warrior.
Check out the tutorial that I did that was just about like edge highlighting, maybe. Was that one? Or did no, you haven't posted the one that was like wish.com non-metallic metal yet, have you?
I don't think so. We did the edge highlighting one.
You're talking about the flat, okay, the flat part, not the edge, is what he's saying, right?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time doing on the blade axe, not the edge.
So, you know, for mine, I did this one more for the box art, more like polished stone, right?
Polished
so I did a
stone,
lot
yeah.
of texture, and you can imagine like a rough edge, because a lot of times, think about like if you took a wrought iron piece and you polished a blade on it, leave this rough, and then you don't have to do the shine on it, which is nice. And then you just do the shine on the blade part, which, you know, makes it look like this is polished and sharp and this is rough and heavy. I think that works really well. The metallic one that I did, I think we painted over, didn't we?
Yeah, you talking about the true metallic one?
Yeah. I don't have one here where we've done the
I have this
base
one.
of the blade, but here's the wraith.
I have that one too.
That's the gold one?
That's the gold.
Yeah, when I did the metallics, you know, we did the same thing. I kind of left the face of it darker so that the blade is the bright part and the flat base of it is darker. Because again, I want the blade to have that shine. This is the same workup we're doing here on this gold, by the way. But then you can treat it like the flat face of this sword, right? And you can just find a hot spot for reflection on it and then just blend out in two directions from that flat spot. So, you know, if you have where's the other one? This one. So if you had this one where I've chosen to put the shine line here, here's the reflective spot, then I would just also brighten up like right down on this flat edge and then blend it off to the edges and then highlight the edges and you'd be fine. You just don't want to make it as bright as this probably, right? Because this is more angled, right, from the bevel facing the light, and so this flat part would be duller. It wouldn't go from bright to dark so quick if you don't want it as polished. You'd have bright and then you fade it, blend it to dark over a longer period.
Yep. Ross, to answer your question really quick, check out that link. That is the link that I essentially took the VOD where Jason is using the expert acrylics to filter, and we condense it into a smaller video for you. But the VOD link is also in the description of that video. So you can watch the shortened version or the long version, up to you. No, Awkwardish, I don't know if you're mentioning Dragonfall for a fun hang convention, not like even for a sponsor, just coming up and having fun, meeting all the people playing games. I've never been to Dragonfall.
Yeah, we talked about it last year, and I didn't get to go.
Oh, right.
It's in Wisconsin, right?
I think so.
It was a problem because it's like, how do you get to it? Because you got to fly in like an hour and a half or two away. It's a very regional show.
Really?
Traveling to it seemed like a pain in the butt because it's like, I either have to coordinate with people that are traveling from the area, the surrounding area, Illinois and things like that, and have them come pick me up at the airport or have something arranged, because you can't like just take an Uber to the show because
It's in Lake
literally
Geneva.
over an hour away from any airport you can get to, from what I remember.
Yes, Rattlecan. That's kind of my goal with those, the short version and the long version. We always have the, obviously when I make all of our tutorial stuff with Ryan now, we always, in the description, if you look at our tutorials, you can always go back and watch the full list of VODs. They're always in the description. So that if you're like, they skipped over something that I wanted to see, you literally can watch the whole thing. Poor Ryan. No, Ryan's on cloud 9 over here.
Ryan really digs it.
He's loving this.
He likes Chris for some reason.
It's
I
great.
don't know why, but it's crazy.
We're rocking it.
Oh, wait. Sorry. Chris.
He's great.
Sorry, Chris.
I heard what you said. I heard you.
I love you, Chris.
I know what you're trying to do.
You're my Chris.
I get it. I understand.
It's all for the comedy, Chris.
Is it?
I don't mean any of this.
Is it?
I don't mean any of this. I don't want you to go home and like cry into your
Oh,
pillow.
no, I'd never do that.
Okay.
No, never. No. I don't do that. I don't do that.
You don't
No,
you don't
never.
Go home and cry?
No,
Never?
no,
Okay, good.
no.
Good. I would never want you to go
No.
home and cry. I would never want you
No.
to feel put upon
No.
to the level where you have to just go home and sob
Never.
crazily and uncontrollably.
I just have my little
into your little blanket and
I have my little accounts book now. You know, when people do me wrong,
it's like Death
I
Note.
write down your name
It's like Death Note.
just to remind myself of what you've done.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks.
Just in case the pain is too, or the anger is so fierce that I have to control it by writing down your name so that I can come back with full force retribution someday.
Here we go. This is called, I've seen this. It's called going postal.
And I don't even work at the post
You
office.
don't even work at the post office. Working at Monument Hobbies.
You could either work here or go postal. There's zero between. Oh, I'll go home. You don't go home and cry into your Galadriel body pillow, Chris? Ah, if only I had one.
Oh,
If
chat.
only. Ah,
Where's Mike when you
you
need
know
him?
my innermost thoughts. I speak sweet, sweet nothings into that pillow. Speaking of speaking in sweet nothings, welcome in, everybody.
Welcome in, everybody.
I tried. I waited for you on that one.
I was focused, Chris. You chose the worst timing there.
I gave you
You
an
chose
opportunity.
very, very bad timing, Christopher.
I gave
I'm just
you an
gonna call you out on
opportunity.
that. Normally, you're okay with that, and this time you failed.
You're so quick to it, though. I have to
Miserably.
expect it.
Miserably failed that time.
Oh man,
I was eye deep in magnesium.
eye deep in
It's the only
magnesium.
way I can say it
Nice.
and not get arrested.
I wish I was eye deep in magnesium right now. No, Agrippa. I am no. Chris out here writing death notes. That's right, Flapjack.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping everybody on their toes.
He says he's keeping us honest.
Oh, Awkwardish. I just saw it. I don't ignore anybody. I just have to deal with everybody at the same time. That's the link to the short on how to do the non-metallic metal on the warrior axe. Huh. Awkwardish, you are doing the Lord's work. That's right. Thank you.
Now, the dark silver and the magnesium are very similar in value. The dark silver probably reads as a little bit brighter just because of the gray instead of brown nature of it. But they're not really that much different from one another as far as brightness goes. So what the dark silver does is just start trending us towards the gray of silver, not really add a highlight. But it gives the nice, dull, tarnish feel to have that magnesium underneath it.
Juan says, is it possible that the expert acrylics dry slower on the palette than the pro acryl ones? The
Yeah, a
normal?
little bit, just because they're paste and they have less water content, so they're not going to evaporate as quick. Right. They have a long open time, so they work great in that regard. But don't put too much out, right? Because a lot of people say, oh, it's free license. They just squeeze a bunch of it out on the palette, and then they're bummed out because it starts to skin over, and it's not magic. No silver bullet involved there. So less is more in that regard, and then you can work back from, just put a little bit more out as you need it.
A little bit of dark silver never hurt anybody.
Except that one guy.
Except for that one guy that did him wrong.
No, the one guy that made your list. Freaking Death Note list,
Oh,
Chris.
I'm coming.
Very afraid of Chris nowadays.
You should be.
I know.
You should be. It's the fear that grips them, is what I've decided to make my motto. Motto? My mantra. Well, I might have just died and gone back to just revived myself right there. I died and I came back, chat, just in that millisecond. I'm ready to go. I'm ready.
Go where?
Whatever that means to you, Jason.
Oh, no.
So do you have a book of grudges? Chris is a dwarf. That's right. Nibling, that's correct. That's very correct. It's not that I have actually I have no grudge. Like I have no grudges. That's what the book is for. The book takes that all out. I just will remind people of all the wrongdoings they've done to me, and then haunt them with the fear. Because I'm a very capable person.
Is this making anybody feel safer?
That's all I'm gonna say. I'm very capable.
It's like
I have a lot of resources, and I'm very, very quick on my feet for my size.
Liam Neeson movie I saw once, I think.
I do have a particular set of skills.
None of which are particularly scary or useful.
You decide, world. Alex, he doesn't know our real names, so we're safe chat. False. I have every single one of your locations at all times.
So there's this thing called a privacy policy on our website, Chris, so you're not allowed to tell them.
I have never looked up anybody's names in real life. Except for you fools that send me pictures and your names.
He doesn't immediately go off stream, and whoever wronged him in chat, go back and type in your name in the email search field.
And look up your accounts and look up all your addresses. No, I would never do that. I'm a good person.
Chris comes back the next day. So, mister, your average order value is $42.
So, Mr. XYZ, you've done me really wrong. What are you going to say about that? No, I don't do any of that.
He just doxes
I'm a good man. I'm a good person.
Doxes everybody on the dark web Instagram.
The dark
Chris
web.
Mac Sushi's dark web Instagram.
That's what I need. That's what I spend my free time doing, everybody, is on the dark web.
Steel. I don't need silver in this case because we're not trying to do heavy polish, right? We're trying to keep things a little bit darker. So we just go from dark silver to steel. Steel is such a good color.
It's a great one. Some would say it's stolen our hearts. Or stealing our hearts.
Stealing our hearts. I get that. I got that reference.
Stealing our hearts?
I got that reference, Chris.
Boo-ray. This stream is brought to you by Delete Me. Artistic Outlaw. I know it's a joke, but still making me uncomfortable. Good. Good. That's where I want you, Artistic Outlaw. That's you. I have you exactly where I want you.
I do want everybody to know that's a joke.
Oh, 100%.
We had a viewer once where we said something like this, and the viewer was like, "Hey, I in Discord, they were like, hey, no, I'm pretty sure we're joking, but you guys don't actually go back and look at our shipping address." And I was like, "Hell no, man, that's not."
No.
But I do realize that not everybody understands our humor all the time.
No, this is true. Thank you for the clarification, Jason. But we also want to make sure we have the right addresses to send your paint to. But no, I'm a very nice person.
That's exactly what a serial killer would say. No, you can help me with this couch in the back of my van because I'm a nice guy.
Now for the people who make notes for me on their orders and they say, "Hey, give this note to Chris." That's a different story. That's on you.
That was funny.
That's on you.
That was funny, that one.
Watt says, I haven't been comfortable since 1986. Kyle Kinghorse, Chris is very nice. That's right, Kyle. Speaking of Kyle,
welcome everybody.
Welcome in everybody. Let's get this. I needed to change the vibe. I needed to get us back on track. This is a serious painting business stream. None of this crazy serial killer talk and me doing wrongs and rights to you. I'm a good man. I would never hunt you down in the middle of the night. Ever.
You're probably not helping yourself out there.
Michael Holtz, great question. So how do you clean your glass palette? I just ordered one and I clean. I think you wanting it clean. You could get a big bucket. I literally cleaning. I have a rotation.
He has one that's cleaning right now, as a matter of fact.
You literally get a big 5-gallon bucket from a hardware store or something. You put a bunch of Dawn dish soap on it. No free pub for Dawn, but I'm using Dawn. And you just let it sit overnight, and it just will peel off. Then you take a Scrub Daddy. No free pub for Scrub Daddy. And then you just, scrub it off. and you have a beautiful brand new palette. I rarely do that at home because for years, I thought Jason was making this Art Deco piece on his glass palette on purpose. And then I'm like, well, the master does it, so I better do this at home. So I don't clean it. So now my glass palette looks disgusting. And I come in here one day and Jason's like, yeah, you can clean it. And I'm like, what do you mean I could clean it? This is a part of your process. And he's like looking at me like I've got, you know, like horns coming out of my head. And blew my mind.
Except in chat if you know Chris is lying.
I'm not lying. That's an actual true story. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought you liked this. I thought you liked the conglomerate of paint. It looked like achievement. And that was false, apparently. Tech Elf says, I haven't left notes before, but I am now. Some of you guys get really creative just for fun. Our fulfillment team has a good time with that. You all are funny. Panic Bomb. Free pub sounds like a good place to hang out. Yeah, it does. Alex WP. I forever assume Jason was just making the PA version of Fordite? Fortdite. What is that? I have no idea what you're talking about, Alex. Nibling says, speaking of average order values, when I ordered recently, Shop said I could buy now, pay later for up to $30K.
Whoa.
That is a lot of paint. Buy now, pay later.
You got good credit.
Orky Fish Meat, we need a hotline to call and leave voicemails.
We get like an order that in the notes is like, I want Jason's car. Or Chris's car. I spent $30,000 on Shop Pay, and it said I could have Chris's car.
Worky Fish Meat, that's a great idea. We need a hotline to call and leave voicemails. Yes, we have a hotline. It's for people who paint the inside of their models. That's what the hotline is for, and it's not a judgment hotline. It's for help. It's for helping you.
Hotline.
It is not for judgment. I won't pass judgment. I'm just here for you to talk.
That line. We have to get the answering service on it. Says press 1 for help with goblin green bases.
Press 2 for
everything else.
For everything else.
Press 2 if you paint the inside of your vehicles.
Yeah, I'm not making fun of those people. I'm not judging them. I at a higher level, I actually really appreciate what you're doing. I'm not judging. I really appreciate what you do. And it is for you, so I can also see the other side of this coin. But you need some help. And I'm here for you.
I'm not being judgmental, but here's a number you need to call.
But if you just need someone to talk to, I'm ready for you.
Burnt Umber is my new base coat for flesh.
Oh. Really?
It's in heavy rotation right now.
I use advanced flesh tones so often. This could be a good fun substitute. Flapjack says, I hope if you press 1 it just hangs up on you.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah.
If you just get dial tone after you press any of the selections.
No.
Hi, welcome to the Monument Hobbies helpline for painters.
I'll
press
help
1
you.
if you have a problem with, or if you prefer goblin green bases. Press 2 if you paint the inside of your vehicles. And any of the choices that you make, it just goes click. And then
press 3 if you have a grievance with Christopher, and I will pick up. If you or someone you love has eaten the paint, please press 1. Yeah, and that'll just auto dial 911 because we don't condone that. Straight to jail.
No, it just puts you on hold music forever until you'd like hang up.
Oh my gosh. Orky Fish Me says, I tell the students I work with it's a judgment-free zone. Well, just a little, and you won't notice. Button in the Dry says, any plans to release more colors of washes?
It's not out of the question, but it's not on my radar right this minute. Not one of the things that I'm thinking heavily on. Do you have like a color you're thinking you need? I don't paint with a lot of washes. The glaze wash medium makes any color a wash so easily that we really try to, as a company, it's kind of one of our credos, if you will, to teach people the power of mixing, because it's a tool you need. I don't care if you're just painting Space Marines for your next tournament or what. Mixing colors always gives you the freedom to do things that you can't do otherwise. And I'm not talking about mixing 3 or 4 colors together. I'm not talking insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, we will do that occasionally, but the reality is no, we don't expect you to. What we're talking about is, mixing 2 colors together, or 1 color and a medium, right?
Yeah.
It's very powerful. It makes every single paint you buy from us, because, and this may sound weirdly altruistic, but I have a belief. If I could sell you fewer things and have you use them more often, that's where I prefer to be, rather than having to come out with new things to sell you that I don't believe you need. Is that a good way to say it?
That's 100%.
You don't need a speed paint line. You don't need a glaze, a base, a dry brush of the same color, because the same paint does all of that if you mix it with a medium. So, that's just our stance as a company.
Yeah.
It may not be the best business stance, because, to have more things that you have to buy is probably better from a business standpoint. But I just believe that if you have a color that you love, if you like, let's say dark gray blue is just a color you love, then being able to use dark gray blue for anything, use it in the airbrush, create a wash with it, base with it, dry brush with it, use it for noosh, you're going to get the right color that you love every time you use it, no matter what technique you're using, is more beneficial than the problems that occur when you grab a color and then you buy the same color as an airbrush color and they're not the same, right? Because the additives, the way that they've mixed the paint is different. The pigment changes a little bit. It's duller in one versus the other, brighter in one versus the other, but they say they're the same color, and then when you use them, it's not the same color. It just creates all sorts of issues. Yeah. So I'm of the mind that I would much rather sell you the colors that work great, give you colors that you can love, and then you can use them for anything. So from a standpoint of washes, then you could say, well, why did you make Payne's Gray Wash? Well, if it's used enough, then I'm also a fan of lazy painting. And so if you're going to use something like a magenta wash or Payne's Gray Wash for flesh or shadows or things like that, brown, black, flesh, then all of a sudden it's like, well, then make it to where it cuts out a step. I don't have to mix it every time because I just use it enough. So yeah, we'll look at those.
One of these days,
exactly.
One of these days we'll make a video on just make your own wash, period.
Yeah.
Make any wash for that matter.
Spatsnat's got it. We make 157 wash colors. All you have to do is buy the wash medium and some empty bottles. And yeah, that's a great thing. I mean, remember that we sell the empty bottles just for this. You'll see on my desk, you'll see a bunch of mixed colors, right? That are like, these are colors that we've made when painting for like a pale flesh color, and then, well, I have 2 of the airbrush primers over here too, but I'll mix them up when I'm mixing paints and playing around with them and keep them, and they last just as long as normal paints. So, if I made a wash with glazed wash medium and a color and a little bit of water, put it in a bottle, make 22 mil of it, and all of a sudden,
I do that.
You've got that forever.
I do that with like my ghostly glow wash because I'm like, well,
it doesn't go away. It doesn't dry up any quicker. It doesn't cause a problem. I'm a big fan of doing that.
Yeah.
All right. The next color after burnt umber would most likely be advanced flesh tone, Chris.
Advanced flesh tone?
Yeah, because it's a highlight for burnt umber. That's why I love burnt umber. Burnt umber goes into shadow flesh and advanced flesh tone equally well as a shadow.
Yeah.
Without being as deep of a shadow when you're doing small faces as dark flesh. Dark flesh can put too much contrast in a small area if you're not careful.
Okay.
Right?
And you didn't use your normal approach with your royal purple and green. I've noticed this.
I'm not underpainting because look at that sliver.
Yeah, it's just like so.
Half of his head is a steel plate.
I didn't realize that too when you started painting this guy. I just didn't notice it until you did it.
It's got like a Terminator steel. Look at how smooth that silver is.
It's really good. It's really dang good.
We use good paint around here.
We do. Some might say
I'm not going to give any of them free press on the paint brand, but
no free press, no free pub.
No free pub here is what Chris has taught me. So I'm not
But
going to tell you
is Pro
I'm not going
Acrylic
to tell you what
paints.
paints we're using because Chris says no free pub.
I know. I just said it. It is Pro Acrylic, just so that we are very clear. It's paid pub.
It's like, wait a minute, we make it, Jason.
Wait a minute. That's our paint. Avian says, "Thank you for asking the question I dare not ask." No, it's a video. It's a video I've wanted to make for a minute, and we've had a spattering of, if I go back in my log, of how to make your own wash, right? But it's always been because people are like, "Hey, can you make this green one or this red one?" Right? So there's spatterings of it. But at some point, that's a video that I want to make. Nice. How's that make you feel? Good?
What was your childhood like?
Oh, grim, dark.
Grim, dark. What was your childhood like?
Grim
I'm use
and dark.
some bright shadow flush now.
Grim,
what was
dark.
your childhood like? It was difficult.
Avian says, when you make it, make sure to wear the lab coat and eye protectors. We can do that for you, Avian. We'll get Jason into we'll get Jason into costume.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not a dance monkey dance. You just can't hey, here, wear the suit.
Who do you have
Monkey.
any sheep?
Wear the suit, monkey boy.
We can do it.
Damn it.
We'll do it all right.
I don't like this at all.
I don't like this.
I did not grow to be this old to be treated this way.
You're not old.
Hey, I get money
You're
off.
seasoned.
I get money off at Denny's. So.
You're like a fine wine or cheese.
Oh, here we go.
Now that's a face if I've ever seen one. That's a nice face.
The face of a nice man.
He's a nice man. That's a very nice man. I suppose. If nice men look like that.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know.
You're not willing to commit?
I guess so. Jason isn't a monkey to dance. He's a seal to clap. That's correct.
Damn it. You guys took that way too seriously. You wear one seal costume.
Northrick says, been super distracted this stream, but this looks phenomenal. It's a fun workup. This is a fun workup. Now, you're not going to... Is this the model where you decide, I'm not going to paint this eye?
Oh, I don't paint the eyes on this guy.
Not on these kinds of models, but you paint the lens eye.
Yeah, the lens will be, and I'll probably put a little bit of color in his mouth for his gritted teeth.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know. Yeah, I gotcha.
But no, I don't. There's sometimes where, you just got to say, oh, you know what? This is good enough. Like a lot of people say, when do you know a model's done?
Dude, the 3-foot rule on the eyes gets me every time. I'm like, well, if you're touching my model and you need to see the eye, then fine. But this guy's just going to get shot by some massive orc cannon. So,
oh, yeah, he'll be in the game for all 10 minutes. It's like, how much time do you want to spend on him before you have to pick him up and throw him in the pile? I don't know, he's a captain. He probably has like
maybe he's a little bit better than
a 2-up save. And
Marines look so great. The volumetric lighting compared to the heavy metal style, in my opinion, says Northrex.
Oh, right. It just gives you such a better contrast.
It looks great. I mean, it's such a simple workup. Jason.
Welcome, everybody.
No, it's 3:57.
Oh, dang it. Punch in close?
Yeah. It's about wrapping time.
Yeah, so we got some good shadow on the face. That's working pretty good.
You're working pretty good.
Hey.
Hey, don't talk to my mother that way.
Don't be that way, Christopher. We was friends.
We was friends, you and I. Nice. Look at that little face. Look at him. Look at him go.
I'm really liking the silver.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
A face.
2 days work, getting close. You know, I think that this is everything that I'm showing you here is super simple. I hope that the big thing that you can take away is I haven't done anything here that has taken an ounce of real brain space.
It's very simple.
Yeah, none of the, like punching close on the silver. Like, look, I'm not blending anything. It's just literally I put the steel across the top there and then hit each rivet and then this little bottom line and then one on the side. Yeah. And it gives this really nice stark contrast that you can see a little bit of the yellowishness of the magnesium showing through that thin layer of dark silver. There's nothing blended there, right? Like, look at that. When it catches the shadow, the silver turns a little more yellow because the magnesium shows through. Yeah. And that gives you a nice environmental effect, like the gold on his armor and stuff is playing a part there. So it allows you to look a lot more professional than the paint job really is, just by choice of color and application, right? My steel has a lot more depth to it, but I didn't do anything. Yeah. So it's really showing you easy application. I think the hardest thing that you do is you take and you do like the diagonal highlight on the fins, just because there's really, and that's stupid simple. So all of this is really easy to do because we're taking the time to, when we use a color like the magnesium into the gold, do the magnesium base layer, then mix it 50-50 with the rich gold, and then use rich gold. And then now you have that gradual blend from color to color. So remember, I teach a lot on stream, and we did a class at Adepticon where every 2 colors you use really give you a lot more colors because you can mix them together in slight increments to make it look like you got 20 colors out of 2. And that's why most of the time when you see me, I'm working in pairs of color more so than triplets of color. Skin's a little different because I didn't really mix anything. With our skin tones in the Procro line, we have such a good ramp up from dark to light. You just pick the color you want. There's no need to have to really mix them.
That's awesome.
You may need to source your next set of brushes from a U.S. company. I bought some recently that has been held by custom for over 2 weeks now, Nibling. Yeah, I mean, we sell brushes. Believe it or not, we're in the U.S. We actually, for the last year, have been struggling to get our brush manufacturing up and running in production, and that's finally coming true. We had our first colored handles out of production, and they've got the printer ready to test for the handle printing and all that stuff. So
that's huge.
I've been saying it for a year. I sound like the boy that cried wolf with regards to that, but it's happening pretty soon that you will be able to buy brushes from Monument Hobbies that are made in the U.S. by Monument Hobbies personnel. It's pretty crazy.
That is pretty cool.
We've invested in this machinery for 2 years now, and it's been sitting gathering dust under blankets and stuff in production. But it's happy to see it seeing the light of day now. So
that's cool.
But yeah, so we'll have the Pro Sables and the Pro Synthetics will be made here as well as Germany. So it's pretty good. When ordering the empty bottle set, do they come with caps? Yes, bud, and you get to choose which cap. You can choose either the standard, the dropper, or the flip cap. You have 3 choices, and they come in sets of 10. And they come with an agitator, too. So it comes with bottle, agitator, and cap.
Ready to go.
And the caps have the seals in them, too, just like as if they were new. So when you put the cap on there and squeeze it down, if you don't take out the actual sealing thing, then it actually does seal it. So they're production bottles. Like, we literally take them out of the same bins that we use in production and ship them to you. So I'm loving the Dauntless. I'm glad you are, too, Sazzle. They've been great. I've been painting with them. Like Chris will tell you, if you've watched any of me painting over the last year, most of the models that I painted have been 90 to 100% Dauntless brushes. I don't ever release brushes without using them for a long time. And so the white handle brush that you've seen me use for the past year have been Dauntless brushes. It's the exact same brush. We just did it in a generic white because we didn't know what color we wanted the handle to be.
Yeah.
When you take the seal out, do we hear "Kissed Like a Rose"?
No, Avian. We couldn't afford the licensing for seals.
And we couldn't figure out how to fit the music box inside the bottle and also have paint.
It's okay. Our bottles are now $950 a bottle. So, but it plays "Kissed by a Rose."
Yeah, because we have to give Seal that seal.
Yeah,
we have to give Seal all that money. New Seal signature series.
Hey, it's coming. Get ready.
There's no colors in it because every bottle has to have a music box in it. Switch back to the standard cap and after changing over to the alt screw-off lidded cap. My paints are drying out with the other lids too easy. Yeah, the one thing that we say is that those other lids don't have a guaranteed seal. Just like a standard dropper cap for all of our competitors, those dropper caps don't seal either. If you've... it's funny, they seal by virtue of the paint...
drying
up in the cap, right? But Yeah, the lid that we use, the screw top mustard lid that everybody calls it so affectionately, the mustard lid is really the only way to get a real good positive seal over time.
Yep. Cool.
So
Good
everybody,
stuff.
thank you so much. Chris is kicking me out of here.
You're out.
The enemy of fun is saying we got
done.
to close shop. I would stay with you for hours.
I don't think you would.
It's the kind of loving soul I am.
Oh my god.
As a matter of fact, when I woke up this morning, I told myself, you know what's going to be great is being able to spend like 20 hours with stream.
You should have texted me. You'd be like, Chris, today's the day.
You've turned off my ability to text you. It just always bounces back. It says Chris doesn't like you.
No, no.
Chris is not receiving messages from
I
you any longer, is what
receive
it says.
messages. I receive them.
Chris is a green bubble guy.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, I take offense to that, sir. That's the greatest offense.
A little white picket.
You always know it's me, though.
I always know
it's me.
He's a green bubble guy.
That's right.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'd love to see you back here. Remember, we stream Monday through Friday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time here in Phoenix, Arizona, live from Monument HQ. It says so on the M.
That's right.
Behind the M.
It's right there.
Monument HQ, that's how you know. We tomorrow will be a weird one. I have to pick up one of our advisors from the airport. His plane lands at 4.
Oh,
so we'll
probably
end at like maybe 3:30, 3:45. I'll keep my phone on hand. So we might be 20 minutes short tomorrow just because I have to pick up one of our board members from the airport. And then Thursday, no stream.
Yeah.
No stream.
No stream Thursday.
And then we're back Friday.
We're back.
So this week's a little bit short like that, but we're gonna finish up this Ultramarine. I think literally tomorrow and Friday he'll be done.
Yeah,
because we're pretty close.
Yeah,
he's looking good. I'm liking it. I got to paint the body of the gun. I got to do the robes and the little fiddly bits, but like purity seals and stuff. So we're gonna finish a model chat. Hold on to your butts. Make sure you check out all the links that Chris puts up in the chat. The store where you can try our wonderful paints and hobby products if you haven't already. I think the next time you're looking for some colors for your next army or just to try out something new, we always recommend picking up some colors you struggle with painting, and you'll see the pro acrylic difference for sure right out of the bottle. Thank you so much for supporting us all these years. It makes all the difference. And stick around. Chris is going to take us off to a raid where hopefully we find some other amazing hobby goodness for you throughout the evening. Have fun. Don't do anything we wouldn't do, and we'll catch you back here tomorrow. Adios, gang.